Okay. Welcome everyone to another episode of College and Career Pathways, where every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m. we provide you with uh, information on various colleges and universities, financial aid resources, training programs, technical schools, skilled trade professions, and career readiness skills, all designed to help you make the best career decisions possible. Today, we are with the College of Creative Studies. Brandi, we are so glad to have you back. You guys are so awesome over there. We just love you. How are you today?
Oh, you are so sweet. I am doing just fine. I'm excited to talk about our college and opportunities for art and design careers today.
Good deal, good deal. You can go right on ahead and get started.
Awesome. And I see we have some participants here live with us. So for those of you who are
Yeah.
with us live, I will be engaging with you, asking you a few questions in the chat box here. So you can be interactive with me. And for those who may be watching a recording, thanks for checking out information about the College for Creative Studies. So College for Creative Studies, or CCS as most people know it, is a four-year art and design college. I'll go ahead and play my video here, located in the city of Detroit, where we've been for a very long time, teaching artists and designers, craftspeople, and media makers how to take their interests that you typically have in high school or early college, that interest, and grow it into a passion where you can to do what you love for a living for the rest of your life, making a creative difference in the world. And the thing that really sets CCS apart is we're looking to create the next generation of creative change makers, people who are designing the media, the content, the vehicles, the projects and products that are really moving culture and humanity forward. So I always like starting off my presentation about our school, sharing stories of success from some of our many graduates who are creative change makers, right? They're leading in the variety of industries that our students step into. So I'll share a few of those stories before I start talking about our programs. Starting off with Tim Flattery, who actually studied transportation design at CCS. But in his great skills for design, he found a home in the entertainment industry as a concept artist and concept designer. He's worked on over 40 films in his almost 30-year career in the entertainment industry. He's worked with directors like Steven Spielberg and Tim Burton. He's worked on films like Pirates of the Caribbean, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Men in Black 1 and 2, Hunger Games, Captain Marvel, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame. He just recently worked on Suicide Squad 2. I mean, the list goes on. And what's really amazing is for students studying to get their Bachelor of Fine Arts degree at CCS, Tim Flattery is our Dean of Undergraduate Studies. So this is a professional in the industry who's bringing his understanding of the creative process of being a working artist and of how this industry works to the students here at CCS. He's also our department chair of entertainment arts for any students interested in entering the entertainment industry. Kayla Donaldson studied fashion design when she was at CCS, but was already getting noticed in the industry for her footwear design prior to graduating. So she was actually awarded and showcased her work in New York's prestigious Council of Fashion Designers of America Student Showcase. She was awarded the Graduate Fashion Week International Accessories Design Award, which is for the Graduate Fashion Week that happens in London every year. They only choose 20 students from across the world, and one of our students was notified for that. And Kayla, she won this award for this capsule that she's created here as a student, where she took old computer parts and repurposed them, right? Talking about sustainability using fashion. So it's a completely wearable capsule out of computer parts, which is pretty fun. And she actually won a competition with Foot Locker, Adidas, and Pensole to actually have a shoe produced by Adidas and sold while she was still a student. And now as a graduate, she just graduated in 2019, she works as the global Jordan footwear color designer for kids footwear at Nike. So she's already working at a global level, even though she's only been in the industry for 2 years. Chris Houghton is a great story. I joke because Chris Houghton found more than one life goal completed at CCS. So when he first left CCS, he was working as a freelance cartoonist and storyboard artist and animator for channels like Nickelodeon and Disney on shows like Gravity Falls, Harvey Beaks, Kirby Buckets. Then he decided he wanted to create his own cartoon show, which he did, called Big City Greens. He pitched the show to a few channels and Disney picked it up. So it's already well through its second season on the Disney Channel. And not only did he create this cartoon show, he created it with his brother and his wife. And his wife, Cassandra Heller, is also a CCS illustration alum. So I said, Chris and Cassandra, they got a 2-for-1 deal. They found their career and the love of their life. So I'm going to take a break here and focus on a particular topic, which is kind of strange, but we have a lot of alumni who work on Star Wars properties, but they work on it from different majors. And I'm going to use Star Wars as an example to show you how you can enter one industry from a variety of viewpoints, right? You can enter the transportation industry from a variety of viewpoints, the entertainment industry from a variety of viewpoints. So I'll talk a little bit about entertainment here. Wendy Froud actually studied craft and material studies at CCS. She's a sculptor. But she got her big break after graduating from CCS, working for Jim Henson and sculpting puppets, when she was asked to fabricate this puppet, which is Yoda, right? He was actually featured in the Star Wars film, The Empire Strikes Back. And Wendy Froud is now a nationally acclaimed doll artist and puppet maker. And when people look at her work, they see all these wonderful fairy dolls and weird puppets, and they think, oh, that sounds like a cool hobby. And I tell them, no, this is her career. Wendy is so wealthy that she lives in her own castle in England, okay? She's a world famous doll artist. If anyone loves going to Disney World or Walt Disney World Resorts, Scott Malwitz is the creative director for Disney Imagineering. So he's an Imagineer. He brings to life worlds that don't exist, but using his product design background, he's influencing all the sights, the color, the sound, the furniture, the layout of the different parks there. And most recently, he worked on Star Wars Galaxy Edge, which is the largest park expansion in the history of Disney World. It was a pretty exciting assignment for him. And one more example, I don't know if anybody here watches Netflix, but The Mandalorian was a pretty popular show on Netflix, and 2 of our entertainment arts graduates, Matthew Dell and Andre Empson, worked on the show. And I love playing the video of them talking about their career because it really shows what it feels like to work as an artist and designer. So I'm going to play this video example really quickly.
My favorite part of this job is, as corny as it sounds, it's making cool stuff. Designing creatures, like, how cool is that? I go to work and it doesn't feel like work. It's a career. It's like your dream job,
I feel so blessed to be able to say that I live out here and I work out here doing something that I love and that I honestly feel like I shouldn't get paid to do. Being a visual effects company, we get the footage after everything has been shot, and we're expected to add to the footage. And there's a very multi-step process involved in that.
A regular workday for me here at Pixamundo, as a CG generalist, it would be lighting, rendering, texturing, creating assets for whatever show that we're working on at the time.
After these multiple step processes, it finally reaches compositing, and I bring together all of the footage, the lighting, the CGI, the texturing, the camera movement, and just bring it all together into one, and we try to make it seem seamless. The end goal is to make the director happy and the clients happy, and we're willing to do anything to do that.
The coolest project that I've worked on for sure has to be The Mandalorian. Big Star Wars fan growing up. I know when I heard we got the gig, I was very, very excited about it.
I fell in love with Star Wars very early on, and the fact that I could say that I actually contributed to one of their projects is unbelievable. My number one thing that I love in this industry is the opportunity and the potential that one could have, and it's limitless. It literally is limitless. You can go travel all around the world, get paid a tremendous amount of money. There's just endless opportunity, and I'm ready to take it all on.
Having all my work finally, in front of me and realizing that, this is something that I was a part of, it's very, very exciting. And just, going back home and showing all my friends, what I've worked on in the past few years, it feels pretty good.
I've worked very, very hard to get to this point at CCS, and the fact that just continuously pushing towards a certain goal, and it's a dream come true, honestly.
I love sharing that example because that's what it feels like, right? To do what you love for a living. It does feel like a dream come true. The beautiful thing about doing something that you love is that you also have an opportunity to make dreams come true for other people. And that's something that we're really proud that many of our alumni are doing. Like Sharice Thornhill, who you see on the far right here, she studied product design at CCS as well. She wanted to become a footwear designer. That was her dream. She got an internship with Nike before she even started her last year at CCS that led to a full-time job. So she was doing her dream for a decade, designing shoes for Dwayne Wade and Kobe Bryant, working across multiple sports categories at Nike. She actually designed the Zoom KB24 for Kobe Bryant and the Jordan 16.5 for Dwayne Wade. Like she was doing amazing things. She was there for a decade, but realized that she was the only woman of color, one of few women of color in her industry leading. And that was an issue for her. So she left her successful career after a decade and actually partnered with Adidas to create something called SEED, or the School for Experiential Education and Design, where she acts as a mentor and an advocate for women from diverse backgrounds, typically women who can't access higher education like this, so that she's creating a direct access pipeline into her industry, right, into the sportswear industry. This is the type of change you can make with creativity as well. Another great example of this is Veronica Scott, who in her junior year at CCS decided that she wanted to tackle the issue of homelessness using design for one of her social good assignments. So she decided she would design a coat that transforms into a sleeping bag to help people who either can't get into shelters or who don't want to have to rely on homeless shelters. And good designers, good artists, good everything, everybody in any field knows that your first idea is not your best idea, right? You need to iterate, you need to try. And so she took this coat to shelters across the city of Detroit, getting feedback. Most of it was positive. In one instance, she actually got yelled and screamed at and cussed out. And I won't say what the lady at the shelter said, but this woman who was experiencing homelessness told Veronica, I don't care about your stupid coat, right? What I need is a job. And that's legitimate feedback. And that could be discouraging to hear, but that's not what we teach students, right? You take feedback and you incorporate it. And that's what Veronica Scott did. So she took that feedback back to campus and actually designed a business model where she would hire people experiencing homelessness, teach them how to sew and fabricate these coats, and then they donate them to people still in that situation. And she called this idea the empowerment plan. She pitched it at an industry day at CCS, was able to get materials from one of our sponsors, Carhartt, and started that business. She started with just 3 employees, women who are all at shelters. To date, the empowerment plan has grown to be a $4.5 million enterprise. She has hired over 95 individuals from shelters who are experiencing homelessness. Every single one of those 95 individuals have moved from shelter into permanent housing within 4 to 6 weeks of working at the empowerment plan. And not a single person has fallen back into homelessness, not even during the pandemic. This is the power of design. Her company has been so innovative that she's been the youngest person to win the JFK New Frontier Award, and she's donated over 50,000 coats across the country and to 20 developing countries across the world, right? This is what it looks like to lead with your creativity and your passion in your career. And these are just a snapshot of the many, many, many stories that are out there of our graduates who are doing what they love for a living and making a difference in the world and making a livable wage doing that, right? I see we have a question that came in the chat box. Oh, I'm going to answer this question when we get to the admissions process because it's a really easy answer. The question was, what if you would like to do this, but you can't draw? Can you learn how to work and film at your school? The short answer is yes, but I'll share some details about that when we get to the admissions process. So I want to now talk a little bit about CCS, right? I share a lot of stories about what our graduates are doing, but these stories aren't anomalies, right? There are a lot of students with stories like this. And the reason that is because we've been teaching art and design for over 100 years here in the city of Detroit, Michigan. And we are the city of Detroit's only nonprofit, private, fully accredited art and design college, offering both bachelor's degrees and master's degrees. We have 11 different bachelor's degrees that we offer, 8 areas of emphases within those bachelor's degrees. We offer MAs and MFAs, and then we offer things like entrepreneurial studies or art education certifications and several minors. And I'll dive in deep with each of these in a little bit here. We are a very small student body. Because we're a private school, the average classroom size is about 9 students per faculty member. So you're working one-on-one with faculty member who are actually in their industry working and bringing that industry knowledge to the classroom. So it's not just anecdotal evidence about the industry from 10, 15 years ago, it's current day knowledge, right? And because it's, such a close-knit classroom environment, your teachers really are guiding you to what specifically your aspirations are for your creative career. But just because we're small in number doesn't mean we're small in diversity, right? We have students coming from across the country, across the world to study at CCS, and they're bringing their unique perspectives, their sexuality, their gender identity, their religious beliefs, their cultural backgrounds and ethnicities, everything that makes you who you are. We want you to bring that to this campus family because that makes us a better representation of the world we're looking to serve creatively. Speaking of the world we're looking to serve, for those who don't know, the creative field is a viable industry for a career, right? There are nearly 700,000 businesses involved in the creation and distribution of the arts. These businesses employ millions of people. In the US alone, there are over 2 million artists actively working, right? So when you think about what the arts contributes to our economy, to our world, the visual arts employ more than the performing arts and the sports industries combined. Right? This accounts for about $800 billion of the US economy, over 2 trillion of the global economy, and 30 million jobs globally, right? Everything that we wear, all the content that we consume, all the vehicles that get us around, not just cars, all the vehicles, right? Every product that we buy, every ad that we've ever seen, every app or website we interact with, all of these things are influenced by artists and designers, right? There's very little places you can look at in your life aside from nature, because we can't create nature, aside from music, because those are performing artists. But most things that you look at, a visual artist has their hand on the design or the creation of, right? I've had students try to argue me down. They're like, there can't be more artists employed than musicians. I see musicians everywhere. I'm like, yes, for every one musician you see, there is the team of stylists or people designing their costumes. There are people doing their music videos. There's people doing their staging. There are people doing their album art. The person who designed the platform you're streaming their music on, right? Many, many, many more visual artists, right? And so for students interested in entering the creative industries, whether they're fine arts, design or craft, CCS is one of the top 3 art and design colleges in the country, according to LinkedIn, based on the employability of our graduates. And both Money and Pay Scale magazine have said that CCS is the best return on investment or best value college for artists and designers. And that's because when you look at the salary range of our graduates, the average starting salary range of $51,000 to $81,000 per year, that far exceeds the cost of tuition per year, right? And with 96% of our graduates working within a year of graduating from our school, that's a pretty good odd, right? And almost 70% within 6 months of graduation. I mentioned this earlier, I'm an alum. I start working 4 days after graduating, right? Our alumni are finding success in their field. And this is for all of the areas of art and design. I've heard parents and students concerned that, oh, you have to study graphic design in order to be successful as an artist. And that is simply not true. Yes, graphic designers are successful, but fine artists make on average $43,000 to $93,000 a year. Illustrators make on average $44,000 to $99,000 a year. Art directors and creative directors, people with backgrounds in advertising, make $45,000 to $168,000 per year. All of these majors, right? All of these areas of art and design have opportunities for successful careers. So for students who are like, I'm afraid of being a starving artist, I let them know there are also people with law degrees and doctorate degrees who are starving too. It's not about the degree you get, it's about what you're passionate to do, right? Because when you're passionate, you're gonna work hard, and people who work hard excel, right? So just wanna make sure you know there are opportunities for art and design. You do not have to be afraid to pursue this path. Moreover, there are a lot of opportunities for success. And when it comes to success for our graduates, they're working at companies they've always dreamed of working at. Nike, Apple, Google, CNN, National Geographic, Pixar, DreamWorks, Tesla, BuzzFeed. I mean, the list literally goes on. I will not go through the full list, right? And they're also starting their own companies, like Veronica Scott, like Sharice working with Adidas for Seed School, right? They're starting companies and galleries, educational institutions. They're freelance artists and designers and photographers working for themselves. There are a lot of different ways that you can work as an artist and designer. And we help students prepare for these ways through our career development office and our strategic partnership office. So we help with things like paid only internships. Again, artists do not work for free. We don't want our students working for free. So when they're doing their internship opportunities at places like Adidas and Mattel and Pixar and Nike. They're not only getting real world experience for their field and learning, but they're getting compensated at the same time because they're contributing to those companies as well. We also have something called Industry Day, where companies actively come to our campus to recruit students for both internships and jobs. Over 450 companies have come in the last few years. Over 100 of those companies have been international, right? Imagine wanting to interview for a company that's over in Japan. Your parents aren't going to buy you a plane ticket to go to Japan for an interview, right? No worries. You can participate in an Industry Day on campus, be interviewed for these opportunities that you're interested in, right? We also have a mentorship program where your either faculty or industry mentor are guiding you all 4 years of school, because our college, contrary to popular belief, is tough, right? It is a rigorous program. And you need help, right? At times to stay encouraged, to make decisions that are best for your career path. And so we make sure our students are paired with a mentor all 4 years. And then we also have something called Sponsored Studio Design Research, or Sponsored Studio projects, where students in the classroom setting are working on real world assignments, not just speculative assignments. So in this video you see on your screen here, students in our fiber and textiles department, which is a part of crafts, they were learning pattern making from their faculty members, but the assignment, the patterns they were creating were for an actual company called Guild and Grace, which is a wallpaper company. Students are learning their craft, but pitching those ideas. Now, a class like this, for these students, all of their work was actually sold by Guild and Grace. So they sold all their patterns on that company's website. But a company can't just take your work just because you're a student, right? They actually paid those students royalties, AKA they got paid to do their homework for this class, right? We've had students do sponsored studio projects with Nike and actually have their shoes put into production. We've had students in our interior design program work on design systems for Detroit Public Libraries, or for the Detroit Public Libraries, or for Henry Ford Health Systems, and actually have their designs implemented in Detroit Public Libraries. Actually have a cancer center in New Center, Detroit, that was built out using student designed, student influence for their designs. And so imagine what that does for your resume, for your portfolio. That is why our students are finding success, because they're already touching their industry and familiar with their industry prior to graduating. Now, for those of you who may be watching this who aren't in Detroit or are a little bit further away from Detroit, I want to encourage you to come to campus to see where our students are creating their work. We actually have 2 sites for our campus in Midtown Detroit. One next to the Detroit Institute of Arts, that's called the Walter and Josephine Ford campus, and then another a mile north in the new center area of Detroit called the Alfred A. Topman Center for Design. On both of these campuses located in Detroit, students are working with industry level equipment for every single major, whether it's artist studios for our practice students, gallery spaces, photography studios, blacksmithing spaces, virtual reality labs, green screen stages, video editing booths, everything that a student needs to produce their work at an industry level, right, is provided on campus for students to use, which is why they produce industry standard work, right? So I won't go through the full list because it's really long, but I do encourage you to come and visit us and take a tour. We do have housing for students who are interested in living on campus. So if you want to get that full college experience, whether it's living in a more dorm style apartment or suite, or an apartment style suite, we have both on our campus for students to live in. And we do have meal plans available and free parking for all 4 years. So you do not have to fight to park downtown. You can park for free, and all your guests can park for free when they come to visit you on campus. Now I want to take some time to quickly walk through each of the majors that we offer at CCS to show you some examples of student work, what students are producing, and what they're learning in the programs, starting with advertising design. And as I show the student work, because there's so much on the screen, I'm actually going to cut off my camera so I'm not competing with some of the visuals on screen here. First, we'll learn a little bit about what students are doing in our advertising design program.
Advertising is the voice of the brand. So we facilitate communication between a brand and consumers, whether that's through multimedia or traditional media, interactive media. We're communicating with people. It's everything that you see, from television to online videos to pre-roll. It's print advertising that you see flipping through a magazine. It's the billboards that you see when you're driving by. It's mobile applications that you're interacting with on a regular basis. We're learning photography, we're learning filmmaking, we're learning storytelling, we're learning how to maintain a consistent narrative across all media. At CCS, you're surrounded by like-minded people. Going to a university, you're going to get a broader exposure. Here, it's very focused. So everybody you talk to is a creative, no matter what department they're in, and that helps you generate more creative ideas. It helps you hone your craft. Detroit is nestled in a top 10 market still in the United States. Advertising agencies from all over the nation come to CCS to recruit our students. Places like RPA, Leo Burnett, Crispin Porter, Wyden and Kennedy, they've all been here and they've recruited students. With a degree from the advertising program here, we've had students leave to become art directors, creative directors, copywriters, user experience designers, the list goes on and on, project managers, directors of photography, we've got filmmakers, other things like that. You can cut that together, right?
So know that art directors, creative directors, all these different types of careers he's talking about, they're not just selling people things, right? That is a part of advertising, but it's really about getting consumers to think and act differently, and also getting companies and brands to think and act differently. So if you see misrepresentation out there in the world, if you want to have more inclusivity, be a part of the conversation that brands and companies are having, advertising is also a great way of doing that. Next is our art practice program, which a lot of schools call fine arts. That's a very inclusive, that's a very exclusive term, fine arts. It doesn't give credence to indigenous art or folk art, so we call the program art practice. So students are learning how to produce all types of art, really using room for experimentation, but focusing on sculpture, print media, and painting, right? Students are encouraged to be interdisciplinary, so they take classes for things like performance-based fine art, installation art, bookmaking, and much more. And the point of this program is so that students critically understand the field of art and the process of art making, such that they can critically create their own work that causes people to stop and think, or have conversations about art, right? So they can go on to become art critics, art writers. They could go on to work in art institutions. They could do curatorial work, but also have their own studio practice if they wish to. Next is communications design. Most schools call this graphic design. We actually changed the name of this major as well, because students are doing much more than the traditional things that you see in a graphic design program. So while our students are learning how to do brand identity development and typography, graphic design for posters and print media, a lot of our world is digital, right? And so students in the program are also learning motion graphic design, and they're learning how to do interaction design, which means coding and programming, interactive experiences using graphic design. And fun fact, our graphic design program is one of the top in the country, according to Graphic Design USA. Next is our craft and materials studies department, which has 4 areas of emphases, and students would choose one. This is the program for students who like to get tactile and work with their hands. The first area of emphasis is ceramics, where students are doing wheel thrown, sculpted, and casted ceramics work. If you like the idea of being a sculptor or a potter, or a unique career path that not a lot of students know about, is clay modeling. This is a part of the automotive industry. Every car that hits the road is actually sculpted in clay or foam first, and the person who does that is called a clay modeler. Molly Gillies is one of our ceramics graduates, who is the clay modeler working at Ford, who was one of the women behind the new Ford Bronco, which was pretty exciting. But there's so many things you can do with a degree in ceramics outside of traditional pottery. And students are learning to do that in the program while also learning the science of ceramics and glaze making. Next is fiber and textiles. Everything from costume design to puppetry to the textiles that we see in fashion and furniture. Someone has to make the fabric of our lives, right? And that's what fiber and textile artists do. So these students are doing everything from learning how to weave, new emerging techniques for dyeing and even printing on fabric, and combining those things to make unique pieces of fiber art. We have a glass program. We're one of the few schools that offer a bachelor's degree in glass art. When you think about glass, it's a really unique material, right? When you think about, for example, a stained glass window in a church, you can't go and buy that on Amazon, right? An artist has to specifically make that. That person will be a glass artist. When you think about a very beautiful, large glass sculpture or lighting fixture, again, those things aren't just something you can buy. You have to commission an artist to produce those. And that's what glass artists do. And so our students are learning all the techniques for both hot and cold manipulation of glass. It's a really unique program, and we have amazing facilities for glass art at CCS. And then lastly, metalsmithing and jewelry making, where students are learning the art of blacksmithing, metalsmithing, jewelry making, working with iron, all to make either large metal sculptural pieces or small jewelry. And so you think about, decorative iron or gates, right? You think about custom mods for certain vehicles that are using metal. People who are welding, right? People who make grills. I know we have an alum who makes artistic grills. Like anything that's made of metal, again, it takes a specialized skill set, and we teach that to our students here at CCS. The next program is our entertainment arts program, where we have 4 areas of emphasis: animation, game design, digital film, and concept design. I'll play a quick video of Tim Flattery, who I spoke about earlier, explaining 3 out of the 4 programs.
The Entertainment Arts program caters to students in 3 different emphases: digital film, game art, and animation. And within those emphases, there's a broad spectrum to the curriculum that covers all aspects of the industry, whether it's editing, cinematography, modeling, texturing, 3D character animation, 2D digital animation, and 2D traditional animation. Our full-time faculty are all working professionals as well as dedicated to their positions here at CCS. We're now using Zoom to utilize my contacts with industry in the West Coast. So we have access to high caliber talent within the gaming industry, within the film industry, and within the animation industry. Our facilities now are unmatched. The hardware that the college has invested in this past year is remarkable. It's industry standard. We've just developed a new gaming lab with complete VR capability, where students now can unleash anything they can imagine. It's matching what I'm doing with the curriculum, which is to make students prepared to enter the industry, hitting the ground running, prepared and ready for what industry expects out of them.
So to quickly show some examples of student work from these programs, I'm going to share some highlights. These are the types of things students are producing in the animation program. You'd be happy to know that our animation program is the #1 in the state of Michigan, and we're one of the top 10 colleges for animation in the Midwest, according to Animation Career Review. One major that Tim did not speak about in his video is our concept design program. It's our only competitive major at CCS. We're one of only a few colleges in the world that educate and prepare students to become concept designers. And concept designers, what they do, what Tim Flattery does in his career, is bring stories to life, envisioning every design element for film or games, everything from props to scenery to costumes to characters. This is not the same as a character artist for animation, right? That would be a visual development artist. But for students interested in doing concept design for live action or gaming, we do teach that at CCS. Next is digital film, where this program spans the full spectrum of film production. So like you saw in the video, directing, editing, script writing, storyboarding, writing, visual effects, and much more. And students are learning a few different styles of filmmaking in the program as well. So they're doing narrative, experimental, and documentary filmmaking. And we were named by Niche one of the top schools for film and photography in the US as well. And then lastly, our game design program is one of the top 10. We're one of the top 10 colleges in the Midwest for game design as well. So you can see the different things that students are studying and creating in the game program. I do want to mention that this is not a coding program. Our game design program is specifically for the design, the art, and the concepts for the gaming industry. So if you want to go into game development, we do have graduates who are doing that, but you may need to learn a little bit of additional coding outside the school. Next is fashion design, which is a really exciting program at CCS. We just expanded this program. It was previously fashion accessories design, which was a unique program, but we've added to that the ability for students to design garments and apparel. So literally students can design everything from head to toe in this program. Footwear, streetwear, couture, everything. And a lot of students don't know, but the head of many fashion businesses, when you think of large fashion houses like Gucci, many of these brands start out as accessories brands, and a lot of the leaders in fashion houses are actually have an accessories background. So the advantage of studying fashion at CCS versus places in New York or Chicago is that many of those schools focus solely on apparel or garment, while we also incorporate accessories and footwear design in the program. So we have some unique opportunities like standing internships at Calvin Klein every year. Our students participate in London Graduate Fashion Week. They do study abroad to Italy and Paris and Milan, really working in the fashion industry globally and learning that way. So it's a really amazing program here. Illustration is for students who love to draw. Those students, anybody listening to this who they get in trouble for drawing when they're supposed to be like doing homework or taking a test. Those are typically my illustration kids, right? And in this program, you're learning to master those traditional drawing techniques, but also adding painting techniques and digital illustration tools so that you can really work in a variety of industries, whether that's editorial industry, you can work in the entertainment industry, you can even work as a fine artist using illustration techniques. So we teach students all that in the programs at CCS. Our interior design program has received one of the highest accreditations it can, which is from the Council of Interior Design. And we've been named one of the best interior design bachelor's degrees by College Choice and one of the top 15 colleges for interior design by another accrediting body. So this is a highly accredited program for students who have a passion for architecture or color, for texture, material. In this program, they're learning everything from designing lighting and space layout, floor planning, 3D modelings and walkthroughs, elevations, and much more. And they're doing so for the full spectrum of the interior design industry. So commercial spaces, residential spaces, even vehicle interiors, exhibit design for trade shows, or things like if you go to the North American International Auto Show here in Detroit and you think about how those amazing displays are created, oftentimes those are created by interior designers or exhibit designers. And we teach those in the program as well. If you're interested in virtual reality design, you can actually learn that in the program because you're creating spaces, right? Any space that needs to be designed, an interior designer could do from our program at CCS. Next is our photography program.
For me, photography has never been about just a studio environment. Now, there's been a huge initiative to get out of the studios. We do a lot of work on location. So the photo department here at CCS, we believe in having a broad-based training program focusing specifically on the technical skills that are required of a professional photographer these days in terms of lighting, retouching skills, printing skills, camera controlling, all those kinds of things. Lighting skills in particular are incredibly valuable for a photographer. Our program actually has 4 semesters that lead you through intensive lighting. In terms of shooting spaces, lighting, everything from hot lights, strobe systems to the LED panels, both for location and in studio. Our students have great access to equipment. The other thing that we believe in very strongly is that the balance to that commercial training is the fine art concepts work. Being technically trained is not enough today as a professional photographer. You have to have the ability to conceptualize and get your work to communicate to the viewers. We also do teach video because that's another requirement for a professional these days. We want to make sure that the students here achieve their own personal vision upon graduation. We're not here to create little mini-me's. It's not really our role to direct a student to create the kind of work that we would like them to make. What we really like is for the students to explore, find ways of achieving their own vision, and then finding ways of applying that and developing confidence to be able to go out and promote and find jobs doing that.
And that young man who you saw at the end of the video showcasing his work on stage, that was Akeem Salman. He is a world traveling photographer at this point, but when he was a student, he was already being asked in sophomore year to fly to South Africa to showcase and use his photography work for an ad campaign. That image you saw of him standing on stage was his solo exhibition at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History here in Detroit. So he had his own solo exhibition again before junior year. So students are accessing amazing opportunities in the program. And like you saw in the video, are shooting both art photography as well as commercial photography and documentary or photojournalism photography. And all the equipment that you see students using in this video or you've seen in the slides here, that's accessible to all of our students, not just students in this particular major. So we have an audio-visual center where students can rent out equipment for free to use for their assignments or documenting their assignments. Product design is for my inventors and engineers. Like you saw with Veronica Scott's story, they're solving problems that exist or innovating using 2D sketching skills and 3D modeling skills, providing new ideas or innovating existing ideas for a variety of industries, whether it's toy design, furniture design, product design, footwear design, and much more. The difference between footwear design here and say in fashion design is that this footwear is aimed at solving a problem. That's what product designers do. So whether it's giving an athlete more endurance or helping a ballerina stand on her toes longer, right? Those are the types of things that people are solving using a background in product design. And then lastly, transportation design is the program that we're most well known for, probably because we're in the Motor City, but don't get it confused. Our students are learning more than just designing cars. It's literally any vehicle, whether it's mass transit, boats, motorcycles, tanks, planes. We have students who've actually designed spacecraft. And so similarly, students are learning the sketching skills, 2D and 3D rendering skills, and 3D clay modeling skills to enter the transportation design industry. They're also learning how to model in industry's software like Alias so that they can make 3D digital models as well, both interior and exterior for vehicles. We've placed more transportation graduates in the industry than any other school out there. So we're really, really blessed for the many opportunities that our students have from this program. And then if you are interested in studying any of those, these are all, I just went through all the bachelor's degrees that we offer at CCS. But if you're also interested in influencing the future of art and design to the classroom, we have an art education certification that you can tack on to your BFA degree for an extra semester. You, instead of going to school twice, you would grab your bachelor's degree and your certification to teach kindergarten through 12th grade anywhere in the US or Canada through this art education certification program. So it's a really amazing opportunity. We have a year over year 100% placement rate for this program because these students have multiple job opportunities, right? Both art education and the field that they studied in their bachelor's degree. And then if a student were undecided about a major, they can come in undeclared freshman year, but most of our programs are direct entry. So students do start off in their major freshman year, first semester at CCS. So you would not have to wait to start, sculpting that sculpture or designing those characters. You do that first semester. But we do teach foundation classes alongside your major studio class so that you're strengthening those skills. And then we are an art school, but you are still getting your bachelor's degree. So you do still have to take history and English and science, but those general ed classes or liberal arts classes at CCS are geared towards artists and designers. So instead of taking a generic history class, you'd be, for example, taking the history of transportation design if you're a transportation major, right? You'd be taking art history classes to understand your field a little bit better. So it's a really unique liberal arts program within the programs at CCS. And like I mentioned earlier, if you're multi-passionate, you can study a major and a minor at CCS. So if you want to study film and photography or advertising and graphic design or fine art or art practice, and craft, you can study one area and minor in the other. And we also have liberal arts minors for students who are interested in sustainability and art therapy, creative writing, and more. You can have an opportunity to use some liberal arts credits to get an extra skill set under your belt. And then lastly, for students who are interested in working for themselves, the working for yourself as an artist and designer, working as an entrepreneur is different from just being a person in business in another industry. There are some unique skill sets that you need to really lead the charge as a business owner, as an artist and designer. And so we teach those skill sets within our entrepreneurial studies concentration at CCS, even though all students are required to take at least one business class. We want you to make sure you understand how to price your work, how to write a business plan, things like that. But for more advanced skills, we do have an entrepreneurial studies concentration. And we do have the opportunity for students to study across the world and still earn college credit for CCS. We have study abroad and ACAD exchange, where you can study at another ACAD accredited college for art and design. And for those who don't know what ACAD is the Association for Independent Colleges of Art and Design. So for example, if you want to study at a school that teaches art and design in New York or Chicago or LA, you can study for up to a semester. And if you want to study abroad, you can study for up to a year abroad and still graduate with all your credit for CCS and still pay the same tuition rate at CCS. So that's a way that you can attend a more expensive college, but using your CCS tuition dollars. So let's talk about if you're interested in pursuing a path like this, what you would need. There are a few different things to keep in mind. we have 3 pieces of our admissions process at CCS. First is we have our own application. It's free. It takes about 10 minutes. There's no essays, no letters of recommendation, no ARA statements. It is separate from Common App. You can find that on our website, collegeforcareerstudies.edu. Once you fill that out, you then have up until the upcoming deadlines, and I'll talk about those in a second, to submit 2 remaining pieces. Right, so you fill out your form first. You don't have to have everything ready at once, but once your form is filled out, you submit your high school transcripts or GED, you have that. And then we look at a portfolio of 8 to 12 pieces of artwork produced in the most recent 2 years of your high school career. We do not look at SAT or ACT scores at all. We are test blind, okay, for non-international students. When I say a portfolio, 8 to 12 pieces of work, and this goes to answer Cheryl's question from earlier, 8 to 12 pieces of artwork means 8 to 12 pieces of your strongest creative work that you've produced recently, right? So if you're interested in film, for example, but you've never made a video before, or if you can't draw and you want to enter, fashion design or film, that's fine. Your work in your portfolio does not have to represent the major that you're interested in attending for. So specifically, if you want to study film or advertising and work with film, you do not have to have drawing in your portfolio. You can have sculptures, you can have, photography, right? Any pieces that are representing who you are, your unique skills, right? That's what you want in your portfolio. Now, there are a few exceptions to that, and I'll talk about those shortly here. I just want to let you know that your portfolio is generally a combination of who you are and your creative skills shown through your artwork. And these are all examples of work from students who are admitted. So they're showing us their strength over variety, right? If you've done photography and fashion and drawing, and your drawings are not the strongest for a major like film, we don't say put those in there, right? Show us what you're best at. And we want to make sure that, if you're doing 3D work, you're showing multiple sides of your 3D work. But you can submit video if you've done that. This is actually I won't play this, but this is actually a video that students submitted for their portfolio. The only exceptions are for students interested in illustration, game design, animation, or transportation design. While your work doesn't have to be specific to your major, you do have to show at least 5 drawings in those portfolios. So for those majors, because a bulk of the work is drawing based, we do ask that students showcase their drawing skills in those portfolios, right? Now, it doesn't have to be all drawing. It can be 5, and then the remaining 8, minus 8 to 12. So 3 to 6 pieces. They can be, photography, sculpture, etc. But when we're looking for animation, illustration, game design, transportation side, we do want to see drawing. And when we say drawing, we mean any medium, any subject, digital or traditional, observation or imaginative, right? It doesn't, again, have to reflect your major. So this student drew this amazing car. They could have been applying to animation, right? It doesn't have to be for transportation design. In fact, we want you to showcase what you're best at drawing, right? So if you're not good at drawing cars, but you're amazing at drawing people, and you're applying to transportation design, show us your people, right? For concept design, the portfolio is very specific. I won't go through all the requirements for that now, but if students are interested in applying for concept design, because that's our competitive major, we typically want to talk with you one-on-one about the portfolio and about your current skill sets to make sure you're best prepared to apply for that competitive major. So deadlines. Our deadline's coming up soon, right? For early action, our deadline is December 1st, which is where students are considered for the highest amount of tuition scholarship. This is a non-binding deadline. So this is not a commitment to CCS. This is just early action showing us your enthusiasm for applying so that you're considered for the highest amount of tuition scholarship. Beyond that, we have a February 1st priority deadline. Please know this, though, that all of our applicants, regardless of when they apply, are automatically considered for merit-based scholarship when they apply to CCS. It's just first come, first serve, which is where the deadlines come in. But on average, students who submit their portfolio, the transcripts, and the application form, all for free, and also submit their FAFSA, which is that free application where they're considered for federal aid. On average, those students are seeing a $22,000 per year scholarship and grant package from CCS, right? That cuts tuition on average by 40% for students, right? That's just by completing our free admissions process and completing their free FAFSA. So we do ask that students, apply Don't be nervous about whether you'll get in or not. We're here in our admissions office to work with you, to guide you. Every single person who works at our admissions office, not only are we practicing artists and designers, but we also are alum from CCS. So we know this process intimately because we've gone through it and we want to see you succeed, right? And 98% of our applicants receive some combination of scholarship and grant, right? So we want you to be considered, we're a nonprofit school. We want you to be considered for those. If you're taking AP or IB classes or early college programs, you can get college credit. You can transfer in college credit to CCS. And then we have many opportunities for you to build your portfolio with CCS, right? So for those of you who aren't yet seniors, we have a pre-college summer experience where you can take 3 weeks of college level art classes during the summer while you're still in high school with peers who are also in high school from across the country and the world. And you're earning college credit in the program, 3 college credits, which takes over the place of a class. You also get the opportunity to live in our dorms or commute, whichever you choose, while participating in this program. It's a really, really great way of making sure, one, the major you're interested in is really what you want to study, but also immersing yourself in what it feels like to be a college student at an art institution. And those college credits that you earn can transfer to any college, right? So you're building work for your portfolio, but you're getting credit for wherever you decide to attend. And we also have dual enrollment. We have both on-campus and remote dual enrollment, where you can take studio-based art classes from our faculty members while you're in high school and earn college credit that way as well. And with dual enrollment, you're earning college credit at a significantly reduced price compared to if you were to take those classes when you come in as an undergraduate student for your bachelor's degree. So we encourage students to take a look at those, and we do have partial and full scholarship opportunities for both of those things. So you definitely want to connect with us about those. So with all that being said, I'm going to stop flapping my gums. I've been flapping my gums for about 15 minutes straight here. But like I said earlier, I could talk about, I love talking about opportunities to pursue art and design. So for students who are here, besides the one question I answered already, if you have questions, please place those in the chat box, or I don't think you can unmute yourself. So place those in the chat box. I'd love to answer those. Or you can place them in the Q&A box. Also, for those of you who are watching the recording and want to get more information about CCS, you can scan the QR code that you see on your screen here to either sign up to get more info, our request info link, or to get our admissions folder, where you can see a bunch of helpful goodies about scholarships, opportunities for counseling appointments, tours, and much more. And I'll place that in the chat box for folks who are attending live with us here. Any questions?
You guys don't have any questions for Brandi? I absolutely love your program.
Oh, thank you so much.
Such a huge fan.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, one thing I'll conclude with, if there are no questions, I tell this to all the students that I talk to, regardless of if they're interested in coming to my school or not, your purpose, what you're here to do in this lifetime, is a combination of 4 things. It's what you love to do, what you're good at, what you feel the world needs, and what you can get paid to do, right? Because you don't want to just do something you're good at and get paid to do. Because if it doesn't mean something to you, if you don't feel like it matters, you'll feel kind of useless at some point. You might have a quarter life or midlife crisis, right? But you also don't only want to do things that you love and you feel the world needs, because that's volunteer work, right? You won't have enough energy and attention to put into those things if you're not making a living doing that. If you love art, design, photography, film, media, craft, right? And you want to become better at it, and you want to make a difference in the world using that creativity in a way that sustains your own life, right? CCS is an amazing opportunity to pursue that path and that purpose, because none of you are born to be average, right? Everybody here has a unique gift that they're here to share with the world. And if you want to learn how to grow your creativity, because that's the gift you have to share with the world, we are here to empower you and to support you on that journey, okay?
Cheryl, not Cheryl, Brandi, I know you guys offer bachelor's and master's degree. Is it possible to earn like a certificate? And
yes.
Oh, good.
Yes, we have certificate programs for things like automotive clay modeling, if someone just wants to do that because it's more of a trade skill. And we have some other certificates that are being developed right now. So we do have certificate programs, low residency programs. We also have continuing education for people who just want to take one-off classes. If you just want to learn how to make a purse and a pair of pumps, you can do that as well.
Oh, wow. And all that information can be found on your website?
Yes, and I'll place the website in the chat box here. Yes, collegeforcreativestudies.edu. So for students who are interested in information about that as well, people who are watching the recording, I'll go back to our QR code where you can scan that information. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And Ms. Kirsten, I'll share with you in an email afterwards. We also have an educator resource for any teachers or counselors who are interested in learning more about dual enrollment and scholarships, but also professional development for educators
Yeah.
that we have at CCS. So I'll share that resource with you too.
Okay, good deal. All
Yeah.
right. Brandi, excellent presentation as usual. You guys, I know that this information is invaluable and helpful to you in deciding what direction you want to go into as far as becoming an artist of many forms, as you can see. So we're so glad that Brandi took time and shared the programs that College of Creative Studies is offering. And Brandi will look forward to hearing from you if you have any further interest. Thank you
Sounds
guys
great.
for joining. And everybody, have a great day. Thank you so much, Brandi.
Thank you. Have a lovely day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.